Hi, so this is my second video on YouTube, so again, sorry if it gets confused or anything. I'd like to make a video this time about books, more specifically intermediate or advanced books. Everyone's gone through the stage of reading Silver Raven Wolf or Scott Cunningham or some of, I don't know, Raymond Buckland or Starhawk, and feels like it's after a while it keeps on going over the same material over and over again. So I thought I'd make a video about slightly more advanced books. I'm not exactly sure how advanced these would be called. I'm not even sure that I would be called advanced myself. But these are books that I think have gone beyond the basic tools, Sabbats, mythology, and so on, and that have brought a lot to my own practice. So, one of these books would be A Witch's Bible by the Ferrars. It's more of a traditional book. I wanted to have a more traditional perspective to sort of know where the roots were. And it covers a lot of different topics. The first part covers all the Sabbats in depth, which is really interesting. And the second part goes over different topics, from psychology to past lives, to running a coven, to different ritual practices, which I found really interesting. Another thing that I would recommend for a more advanced practitioner would be going over the history. So Drawing Down the Moon is often talked about. I think this is a really good book on the different neo-pagan movements. It might be a bit dated, I'm not sure. I think it was published in the 70s. But it goes over a lot of the different pagan paths, and that might bring a new insight on your own path. Another book would be The Triumph of the Moon by Ronald Houghton. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. This book, some people have told me it's like scholarly or hard to read or whatever. I found it really interesting, actually. It goes over the different influences on early Wicca and the earlier forms of Wicca and covens and so on. The stuff about the influence of like the other movements on that Gerald Gardner was involved in and so on really helps understand like the basis of what Wicca is today. And anyways, it's a really interesting read. What else? I thought that Wicca by Vivian Crowley, A Comprehensive Guide in the Old Religion in the Modern World. I found this book to be really interesting because it goes over the initiations and a lot of the rituals in psychological terms. Vivian Crowley is a Jungian psychologist, so some people might like this, other people dislike it. I found it was an interesting way of viewing things. Whether you agree with her psychological theories or not, I've heard debates about this, but it's still, I found, an interesting way of analyzing the initiations. Some other random stuff. If you're interested in fairy Wicca, I found that Evolutionary Witchcraft by T. Thorne Coyle is an interesting book. So another good book I found was 50 Years of Wicca by Frederick Lamond. He was actually initiated by Gerald Gardner, and so he is one of the older Wiccans, I think, who was part of the earlier covens. This is another good book that goes beyond 101. Well, the basis is a lot of traditional Wicca. Oh, by the way, some of the references in more advanced books are easier to understand if you've read The Triumph of the Moon. if you're reading stuff by Doreen Valiente or Gerald Gardner and so on, this book really, really helps understand the references. Anyways, so 50 Years of Wicca was interesting. He talks about different practices and how he thinks that they could be improved upon. Probably more relevant to traditional Wicca, but I think it's helpful in any path to read different stuff. The Heart of Wicca by Ellen Cannon Reed. She talks about initiation, setting standards for initiation, and so on. So this is another book that I thought goes beyond 101. Wicca 333 and 334 by Catherine McMorgan Douglas. These two books are other books that I think go beyond, well, that go beyond 101. It's about Wiccan beliefs and theology. I might not agree with everything that's in it, but I really like it in that it's a kind of book that makes you ask questions and think more about your own path and your own beliefs. I'd also add The Elements of Ritual by Deborah Lipp inside my list. This book goes in depth into the different parts of ritual and how it's put together and the meaning behind the practices. So I would recommend this book too. Those are the books I would recommend. I'm sure there are others. I'm actually waiting for some other books myself or have other books on lists. And I mean, it's not like, this is just my opinion. And these are books that have helped me in my practice recently that I feel go beyond Wicca 101, but that are still about Wicca. Oh, and I'd like to add, going beyond Wicca 101 in books is interesting and it's part of the path, but going beyond the basics also includes practice. So one of the most important resources for advanced Wicca, I think, would also be your own experience. So you might go in depth into a topic that interests you, but it's also meditating and generally your own experience. But here I just wanted to cover the books that I've read, and that I think go beyond 101. So that's about all, and well, bye and blessed be.